Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. Me, the Quasi Immortal Emperor, sleeping for thousands of years joins chat group. Zhutian traveled through the fantasy world and achieved the position of Quasi Immortal Emperor in just 10,000 years, becoming the first emperor of heaven and earth. Unexpectedly, darkness and turmoil were approaching, and the heavens were invaded by darkness. Zhutian resolutely embarked on the path of blocking darkness and used his own strength to strike down the four dark quasi-immortal emperors. Unfortunately, Zhutian was defeated by 4 defeats and fell into a deep sleep. Millions of years have passed in a blink of an eye. Darkness retreats, and life revives. Zhutian woke up from a deep sleep. Just as consciousness was in chaos, a strange voice rang out in my mind. Ding! The unnamed quasi-immortal emperor joins the chat ***. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. I, the quasi-immortal emperor, sleeping for millions of years and awakening. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The most eerie and dangerous place in the heavens and all realms. Zheng. In this dark and endless sea, every wave stirred up represents a vast world that nurtures billions of creatures. Countless waves ripple in the boundary sea, and the heavens and all realms rely on the boundary sea to survive. I can occasionally see several majestic figures scattered throughout the sea, weaving through the boundary, where even space is forcibly distorted by the supreme power. In Zheng, there is no concept of time at all. A wave rolled away, perhaps it represents the disappearance of an era. At this point, a floating corpse drifted on the sea surface of Zheng. Wherever the floating corpse passes, it represents countless waves of the great world that have been avoided. A very small number of waves that could not be avoided in time were crushed and exploded by floating corpses on the spot, and billions of creatures disappeared among them. Even though the floating corpse has no vitality, it still possesses extremely terrifying power. In a blink of an eye, it seems like millions of years have passed. The floating corpse drifting freely in the boundary sea suddenly opened its eyes. How to describe those eyes? The left eye is like a scorching sun, containing countless stars flowing around. There are countless great worlds hidden in the right eye that have been shattered. As soon as you open your eyes, the rules of heaven and earth in the entire boundary sea have been subjected to extremely terrifying suppression. The waves floating on the sea surface were violently shaking and trembling. I'm missing a certain memory. The floating corpse closed its eyes slightly, and the long-forgotten memories in its mind began to crazily revive. Accompanied by memories floating in his mind, he gradually regained himself. It's like a quarter of an hour has passed, it feels like a year, a decade, a century has passed. Zhutian regained consciousness. I lost, he seemed to be stating something insignificant, and the flickering gaze in his eyes, even if it was just a faint afterglow, was enough to stir up turbulent waves around the boundary sea. I don't know how many years have passed since I lost. That means that era has been completely invaded by darkness. All living beings in the heavens and all realms will inevitably become the nourishment of darkness. Wanjie respectfully calls me Emperor Yan, the first emperor in the world. Unfortunately, I cannot shelter the creatures of Wanjie. Zhutian sighed lightly. All memories were fully revived, allowing him to fully understand everything. His name is Zhutian. Endless years ago, I suddenly traveled through and came to this mystical world. In just 10,000 years, he made great strides all the way, sweeping invincible opponents of the same rank, and fiercely defeating the top powerhouses of the older generation. For him, cultivation was as simple as eating and drinking water, and in the end, he broke the king and became the first emperor in all worlds. Praised by the world as the first quasi-immortal emperor in all realms. Respected title, Emperor Yan. At that time, whether it is the higher world immortal realm, exotic realm, or the immortal king powerhouses of worlds such as the 9 heavens and 10 earths, they all need to come and worship him. It can be said that 10,000 immortals come to court. The scenery is unparalleled. In that era, the name of Emperor Yen overshadowed the heavens and all realms, representing the supremacy. He also established a power. The Heavenly Court. Imitate the Heavenly Court in mythology and control the heavens and all realms. Su Yen is the Lord of the Heavenly Court. Under his command, countless powerful immortal kings support him. Tianting was one of the most terrifying forces of that era. Until dark turmoil is imminent. Realizing that the source of darkness lies at the other end of the realm sea, Su Yen, as the first quasi-immortal emperor of all heavens and worlds, resolutely chose to launch an attack without hesitation. The billions of living beings representing the heavens and all realms are blocking the dark source in order to eradicate the chaos of the darkness and give the heavens and all realms a clear and prosperous future. So, Su Yen stepped onto the boundary sea. Even the extremely powerful immortal king cannot leave any trace in the realm sea. However, when Su Yen stepped onto the Jiehai, he left a faint footprint. Alone, stepping onto the boundary sea, heading towards the end. Finally he met 3 dark immortal emperors. A world-shattering war is on the verge of breaking out. Su Yen, who defeated Emperor Wang Cheng in just 10,000 years, was stunned and stunning throughout his life, possessing unparalleled strength of the same rank. Even with 1 enemy and 3 enemies, they never fell into a disadvantage. You should know. To reach the realm of the quasi-immortal emperor, each one is the son of the destiny of a certain era, and they are the most outstanding demon cultivators of that era. Being invincible at the same level is just a common occurrence for them. Even no era can produce a quasi-immortal emperor. Millions of years may not necessarily produce one. And in the realm of the quasi-immortal emperor, there should be no invincibility of the same rank. However, facing the 3 quasi-immortal emperors, Su Yen was a sudden burst of force, once forcefully suppressing the 3 dark quasi-immortal emperors, and his strength shook the past and present. Just as Su Yen believed that the victory was in his hands, he could use his own strength to completely eradicate the root cause of the dark turmoil. Finally, from the depths of the boundary sea, another quasi-immortal emperor emerged. Moreover, he is a more terrifying quasi-immortal emperor than the previous 3 dark quasi-immortal emperors. 1 against 3 is already Su Yan's limit. With the emergence of the 4th and more powerful quasi-immortal emperor, Su Yan's fate naturally does not require further description. Even if Su Yan's firepower is fully activated, make every effort, the main road of fighting collapsed, both the body and soul are shattered. Even more so, the shocking battle that erupted from the boundary sea generated a faint aftershock that was enough to annihilate countless great worlds, almost shattering and sinking even higher worlds such as the immortal realm and exotic realm. On that day, billions of living beings pray in pain. Emperor Yen was too lonely to be outnumbered by 4. Countless creatures from all over the world shed tears, hating their own inability to support. Su Yen still lost. Defeated 4 times with 1 enemy. The physical body and soul were almost wiped out. Even the quasi-immortal emperor, who claims to be immortal, has suffered from severe injuries and has repeatedly faced the fate of losing his soul. If it weren't for Su Yan's self-created immortal emperor scriptures being too powerful, he might have completely disappeared in that battle. Now, only a trace of soul power has been retained and revived again. Immortal realm, exotic realm, dark turmoil. Originally, I am the quasi-immortal emperor who fell before endless years. That era, known as the era of emperor's downfall. Su Yen was in a daze. As a traveler, he thought he had just traveled to a strange and mystical world. As the dark turmoil approached, 4 dark immortal emperors descended. At that moment, Su Yen suddenly realized what kind of world he had come into. Moreover, at that time, he had already guessed his own fate. He is destined to fall into that era, becoming a quasi-immortal emperor worshipped and praised by future generations. Pioneering the age of emperors with one hand, but he didn't even leave his name behind. People in later generations can only call him the unnamed Quasi Immortal Emperor. He is the only person in millions of years who has left a faint footprint in the world. The faint footprints of Zheng will constantly remind and inspire those who come later, to go against the current and block the source of dark turmoil. He is a pioneer. The first person to step onto the boundary sea, attempting to completely eradicate the dark turmoil. How many years have passed since the outbreak of that dark turmoil? Su Yan suppressed the endless thoughts in his head. He was defeated in that battle, losing to 4 dark immortal emperors. So, without much speculation, we already know the tragic fate of countless beings in the heavens and realms of that era. He was the only hope for all living beings of that era. Even he lost. The fate of the creatures of that era is self-evident. Actually, I have been speculating for a long time. I am destined to fall into the era of Emperor Luo and become the direction pursued by future generations. At the moment when Su Yan first became the quasi-immortal emperor, he felt a pull of fate in the dark. That's why, let him prepare the way ahead. Otherwise, he would not be able to rely on a strand of soul power to revive again at this moment. For dark quasi-immortal emperors. Su Yan looked towards the dim end of the boundary sea. The boundary sea is very calm, the waves are rolling. Large worlds rely on the boundary sea to survive and inhabit. Vaguely, Su Yan seems to have seen it. For dark immortal emperors are sleeping in the depths of the realm sea. Back then, Su Yan was defeated by 4, although he was defeated, he also dealt a strong blow to the 2 dark quasi-immortal emperors. If nothing unexpected happens, these 2 injured dark immortal emperors will take at least millions of years to recover to their original state. To avoid catching their attention, I must leave this place as soon as possible. Su Yan's condition is very poor now. Relying solely on a strand of soul power to revive, he naturally cannot possess the powerful power of the quasi-immortal emperor during his peak period. Motion is enough to shatter and destroy countless universes. Of course. Even if only a strand of soul power is revived, Su Yan's strength far exceeds that of the immortal king. Even the strongest among those immortal kings, immortal king giants, and supreme giants, facing Su Yan in extremely poor condition, will be easily wiped out by flipping hands. The immortal king and the quasi-immortal emperor, there is a huge gap in the middle. Even the most demonic cultivator cannot bridge this gap. It is impossible to have the phenomenon of fighting over a higher level. Even if demons like Su Yan were in the realm of the half-step quasi-immortal emperor back then, they could only barely shake the quasi-immortal emperor and could not defeat him. However, even so, it is enough to demonstrate Su Yan's super-strong combat power. This is an unparalleled combat power that is rare in thousands of eras. If it weren't for this, Su Yan would not have been able to defeat the 3 dark quasi-immortal emperors. Finally, he fought against the 4 dark immortal emperors for thousands of years but still remained undefeated. Now that the recovery is starting again, Su Yan naturally needs to find ways to recover himself. He needs to recover his peak combat power as soon as possible. This time, not only do we need to recover to the peak period, he needs to go even further. If one can truly enter the realm of the immortal emperor, for him, those 4 dark immortal emperors were just ants that could be killed by flipping their hands. Prior to this, it is not advisable to disturb the 4 sleeping dark immortal emperors for the time being, in order to avoid causing trouble. Just as Su Yan was preparing to leave Zheng. In vain. A strange sound suddenly came from Su Yan's head. Ding. The unnamed quasi-immortal emperor joins the chat group. Chapter 2. Spoiler Traps. Zhutian chat group. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Zheng, Su Yan's eyebrows slightly raised. In a moment of thought, an unparalleled power erupted from within, sweeping across most of the world's oceans in an instant, exploring countless worlds that rely on these oceans for survival. Vaguely, the laws of heaven and earth around are affected. Space is forcibly distorted. The boundary sea is stirred up by towering waves, which will ripple up countless large worlds that rely on the boundary sea for survival. However, no matter how Su Yan investigated, it was still difficult to detect the sound that had just sounded in his head. As the most powerful person in the heavens and realms, even if Su Yan only has a trace of soul power left, it is not something that others can easily provoke. The current Su Yan is only about 1% of his peak strength. Even so, it is as easy as pie to defeat the Immortal King-level powerhouse. To create the eerie sound that sounded in one's mind just now, and to escape Su Yan's insight, this is by no means something that the strongest of all worlds can achieve. Su Yan is confident. Not to mention the strong ones at the level of Quasi Immortal Emperors, even if they are above the Quasi Immortal Emperors, it is impossible for the Immortal Emperors to silently penetrate their voices into their heads. Half aloud, Su Yan's mood, which had not stirred up waves for millions of years, welcomed a slight interest. He chuckled lightly, his eyes flickering, and he murmured to himself with interest. Zhutian Chat Group. Before traveling to this world, Su Yan naturally would not feel unfamiliar with these so-called chat groups of the heavens. Due to the long time interval, he almost forgot the memories of being immortal. Fortunately, the sound that rang out from his head just now instantly reminded Su Yan of those past events. This is not the conventional routine in those novels from the previous life. Chat groups. Spoiler flow. Su Yan is full of enthusiasm. For millions of years, there are very few things that can attract his extra attention. Now, this so-called chat group from all over the world made him feel excited for a moment. Although it is impossible to investigate the source of the voice in the chat group, Su Yan is completely not worried that he will be persecuted from the chat group. Once the supreme quasi-immortal emperor of all heavens and realms, even now only a strand of soul power is revived. But Su Yan is still the lord of the heavenly court and the Yen emperor worshipped by all beings in the world. Want to rely on this so-called chat group to harm this quasi-immortal emperor-level powerhouse from afar. Even the immortal emperor cannot do it. So, Su Yan did not feel any panic about the sudden appearance of the Zhutian chat group in his mind. On the contrary, he was very much looking forward to whether the familiar characters from his past lives would appear in this chat group. Exactly. Su Yan may need to spend up to a few thousand years to restore his cultivation strength to the peak of the quasi-immortal emperor. In this spare time, he doesn't mind finding some fun for himself. These Tianzhu chat groups just right to pass the time. Not to be too bored during the recovery period. So, with such thoughts in mind, Su Yan sat on the knee of Jehai and began to concentrate his attention, observing the so-called chat group of the heavens with great interest. Ding. Zhao Guo Proton Mengxin joins the chat group, ding. Xiongba joins the chat group. Ding. Wudong Song Qingshu joins the chat group, ding. Maoshan Linjiu joins the chat group. Ding. Prisoner Ace joins the chat group. Ding. Office Worker Yi Han joins the chat group. Ding. Kind reminder, Office Worker Yi Han has become the chat group leader. Next up. The prompt sound for joining the group chat has not yet disappeared. But seeing a large barrage of message pop-ups, frantically scrolling through the chat group. Zhao Proton Zheng. Who is using magic? How dare you pretend to be in front of me? Is it a conspiracy of the king of Zhao? Sooner or later, I will lead my troops to eliminate Zhao. Unify the world. Wudong Song Qingshu. What kind of martial arts is this? It can even make people hallucinate. Maoshan Forest 9. Demons and monsters, quickly appear. Prisoner Ace. Devil Fruit ability. How could there be such a magical ability? Even if I am in the city of advancement, I can still transmit messages to me from afar. Why have I never heard of such devil fruit ability before? Xiong Ba. Who dares to disturb me and shut me down? Blue Star. Carrying his bag in hand, Yi Han, who had just returned to the rental house from work, had a bewildered expression on his face. The frantic sound of prompts in his head left him stunned and instantly ecstatic. Sleeping trough. Chat groups. Am I still the group leader? Are all these people in the chat group characters from novels and anime? I've posted it. As an office worker, Yi Han has naturally been exposed to the concept of spoilage novels and is very familiar with them. Once upon a time, he also fantasized about it. Being able to join chat groups, become the group leader of the chat group and rely on spoilers to fool these anime characters of the chat group. Moreover, you can also use spoilers to make him the most enigmatic presence in the chat group. Isn't this a conventional routine in spoiler novels? For a moment, thousands of ways of pretending to be coerced appeared in Yi Han's mind. After becoming the leader of the Zhutian chat group, Yi Han realized that his group leader had two additional functions compared to his group members. One function is the prohibition function. As the name suggests, as the group leader, Yi Han can prohibit members from speaking in the group. The second function is that Yi Han can allow group members to shuttle back and forth to their respective worlds. However, this feature is only available once a month. That is to say, within a month, Yi Han can use the permission once to allow a group member who intends to travel to another world to travel to another group member's world. Of course, there is a certain time limit when using this ability to shuttle to another world. Only for 3 days. After 3 days, the chat group will automatically repatriate members who have traveled to another world. Although these two additional features, as a group leader, do not have much substantive effect on me. They cannot enhance my strength, let alone allow me to gain any benefits from group members. But all the members in the chat group are anime characters I know. I can steadily gain their trust and easily ask for benefits from them only by spoilers. I didn't expect Yi Han to have this day too. As an office worker, Yi Han giggled, as if he had already imagined the convincing appearance of the chat group members over time. Next, Yi Han quickly ran into the rental house, threw away his handbag, closed the window and door tightly, and carefully began flipping through the information of the chat group members. If I guess correctly, Prisoner Ace should be the Fire Fist Ace from One Piece, Roger's biological son, and Whitebeard's adopted son. This Wudong Song Qing book is quite easy to identify. I just don't know which version of the Song Qing book this is from. There is also Mao Shanlinjiu, and it is not difficult to guess his identity. Xiong Ba is even better at guessing. Only the Proton of Zhao, Zheng, makes it difficult for me to determine which period and version of the first emperor it was during. Yi Han was extremely excited. There is such a chat group, he's still in a damn class. 9 in the morning and 5 in the evening. 996 Blessings Report. Will you only make things difficult for your bald boss every day? Get out of here, everyone. Chapter 3. Group Member Background Play. Yi, who wants to play the role of a great immortal. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. This translator is experiencing an error, please try another translator. Chapter 4. Stepping on the boundary sea, a terrifying figure comparable to the sun and moon. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Yi Han let out a heavy breath, feeling relieved. Just now, he was almost scared to death by a group of members trying to explore his identity, background, and appearance, fearing that the chat group would upload his embarrassing appearance of living in a rented house. In this way, it will be even more difficult for him to play the role of a great immortal to become a spoiler. It's okay. At critical moments a new member has suddenly joined the chat group. My benefactor. It's like saving a life. My benefactor. If it weren't for the addition of a new member to the chat group at this critical moment, my identity as a weak chicken might really have been exposed. Yi Han clenched his fists tightly. At this moment, he just regained his senses, immersed himself in the chat group, and looked clearly at the names of the members who had just joined the chat group. Unknown Quasi Immortal Emperor. Hiss, Yi Han couldn't help but take a cold breath, his eyes wide and round. Sleeping trough. Is it really fake? A Quasi-Immortal Emperor-level powerhouse. You should know. At present, the entire chat group is based on Yi Han's judgment. The one with the highest combat power among them is either the Fire Fist Ace who is imprisoned in the underwater prison's advancing city, or the leader of the World Association, Xiong Ba. The remaining protons of Zhao, Zheng, were at best just ordinary people. There are also Mao Shan Lin Jiu and Wudang Song Qing Shu. No matter which version, their strength cannot be compared to those of Huchuan Ac and Xiongba. Even for those at the level of Fire Fist Ace and Xiongba, compared to the heavens and worlds, Yi Han believes that they are just experts in the low martial world. And what about the Quasi-Immortal Emperor? That is the supreme strength of the heavens and all realms. The chat group that just appeared, how could he surprisingly, such a level of supreme strength has emerged. This span is probably too large. However, speaking again. Even the Immortal Emperor has countless versions. So here comes the crucial question. What version of the Immortal Emperor is this unnamed Quasi-Immortal Emperor who just joined the chat group? Is it the kind of Quasi-Immortal Emperor who holds the sun, moon, and stars, or the kind who raises his hand to destroy the universe? Or rather, is it the kind of urban immortal emperor who sees his daughter living in a dog house and gives an order, causing 100,000 young brothers to leave the mountains? The rebirth of the Northern Xian Immortal Emperor is so terrifying. Yi Han fell into contemplation. If it is the urban version of the Immortal Emperor, it is quite in line with the current level of combat power in the chat group. After all, the urban version of the Immortal Emperor is already terrifying in just 10 meters. If it's a single blow that spans hundreds of meters and destroys a tree, it's even more like a high-end version of the urban Immortal Emperor. Most likely it's the urban version of the Quasi-Immortal Emperor, right? Not to mention tearing apart aircraft carriers with bare hands. A Quasi-Immortal Emperor of this level may need to take a few extra breaths even if he takes a step of 10 meters. Yi Han thought to himself. At the same time, as a new member was added to the chat group, it immediately sparked discussions among the other members. Zhao Proton Zheng. Nameless Quasi-Immortal Emperor. How dare you claim to be emperor? Is this person not only the emperor of a certain country, but also the Immortal Emperor? Is it the Immortal Emperor in the Immortal country? Is there really an immortal in this world? Mao Shan Lin Jiu. Quasi-Immortal Emperor. Is it possible that your excellency is a golden elixir immortal? But as far as I know, there have been no legends of immortals in the world for many years. Wudang Song Qing Shu. I just want to know, compared to Mr. Xiongba, who is stronger or weaker, this unnamed Quasi-Immortal Emperor? You know, Mr. Xiongba's strength can be said to be top-notch in the world. Prisoner Ace. You guys are so annoying, Xiongba. Is it the Quasi-Immortal Emperor? What a arrogant title. I also want to know if you really have the qualification to consider yourself as the Immortal Emperor. Finally, amidst the curious discussions of the crowd, a strange scene appeared in the group. It's like live streaming somewhere. That is an incredibly dim ocean area, boundless and boundless. There is no end at a glance. The dimness is oppressive, and the heart stops beating and breathing stops. Wow, the occasional gentle breeze stirred up ripples on the sea surface. Take a closer look, waves roll wildly one after another. What's terrifying is every rolling wave represents an infinite world. Surviving billions of creatures. You can imagine it. How many waves can be stirred up by a wave rushing towards you? And every wave represents a vast world. It can be imagined. How many infinite worlds does this vast and endless sea hold up? Office worker Yi Han. What is this place? Maoshan Lin Jiu. The group leader has finally appeared. Don't even cultivators like the group leader know who the group member who just joined the chat group is. Zhao Guo Proton Zheng. I don't know why, but I always feel that everything in the picture, even across endless distances, can still bring me an infinite sense of oppression. Wudong Song Qing Shu. I also feel that even when I see this scene from the group, I still have a feeling of suffocation that is difficult to breathe. Xiong Ba. Humph, pretend, where's the unnamed Quasi Immortal Emperor? Show up quickly. Next, all members of the chat group, including the group leader Yi Han, will see an unforgettable and terrifying scene that will never be forgotten. That is a majestic figure with its back to the mortal world stepping on the boundary sea, stepping on the surging waves of the vast ocean. A line of faint footprints, as if forever, imprinted on the sea surface. Even though the ocean currents come rushing towards us, constantly washing and rolling, they still cannot erase the faint footprints of this line. The majestic figure in white clothes, wrapped in waves all around, surrounded by countless big worlds, appears particularly small in comparison to its figure. These worlds are like a grain in the desert. A drop in the ocean. The waves floating on the sea symbolized the big worlds one by one. As the waves rolled, some waves shattered, and the big world inside shattered and disappeared. This is an extremely terrifying scene. No one can imagine a big world has mysteriously collapsed. However, no matter how turbulent this wave may be, it is always difficult to shake the towering figure dressed in white. He remained motionless from beginning to end, stepping on the boundary sea. As the screen slowly moved, the members of the chat group also gradually saw clearly the appearance of the man with his back to the mortal world. This is a perfect face that is difficult to describe in words. Flawless, perfectly transparent species. A pair of eyes contain countless stars. Open and close your eyes. The universe welcomed the great destruction. The heavens and all realms have already passed an era. Like a candle dragon in mythology. Open your eyes, it's dawn. As soon as my eyes closed, the sky darkened. Just a movement of the eyes changed the day and night of the entire universe. This is an incredibly terrifying power. This is an unimaginable supreme power. I can only say. This man is so majestic. Even though separated from the chat group, it still leaves all members of the entire chat group feeling unparalleled shock. Their souls were strongly impacted and all fell silent. At this moment, the entire chat group fell into a dead silence. Silent silence. Chapter 5. The sun and moon perish but I do not perish, heaven and earth perish but I. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Time. It is difficult to leave any trace on this majestic figure. Even if heaven and earth decay and shatter, but this majestic figure has never felt the decay of time. The sun and moon are gone, but I am not gone. Heaven and earth are decaying, and I am immortal. Between exhalation and inhalation the entire world was once again stirred up by waves, causing countless great worlds within the waves to waver. At this point. Chat groups. A dead silence. All the group members seem to have been greatly frightened in some way. Among them, including the group leader Yi Han, who wants to play the role of a great immortal. As a Blue Star office worker, he had originally fantasized about relying on various chat groups and spoilers to seek some benefits and enhance himself. Unexpectedly. The chat group should have been a group of low martial arts experts. But a terrifying existence emerged forcefully, standing supreme in all the heavens and all the realms. Quasi Immortal Emperor. Yi Han can be certain. This is not any urban version of the Immortal Emperor. But a genuine Quasi-Immortal Emperor. The supreme existence of all heavens and all realms. Even through the chat group, Yi Han felt a sense of suffocation that was difficult to breathe. Gulu he couldn't help but swallow his saliva and quickly expressed his thoughts in the chat group. Office worker Yi Han. Ladies and gentlemen, you seemed to be asking earlier. Is it the stronger Xiong Ba or this unnamed quasi-immortal emperor who just joined the chat group? Now, I think you already have the answer in your heart. If you still can't feel it, I don't mind reminding you. Looking at the waves flipping up on the sea, does it seem like the world we live in? After Yi Han's reminder, the members in the chat group were even more shocked. Zhao Guo Proton Zheng. If I'm not mistaken, the waves rising on the sea symbolized the real world one by one. I also saw that in these worlds, there are billions of living beings. Countless. Prisoner Ace. Unbelievable, Mao Shan Lin Jiu. Every wave symbolizes a big world. This sea area is absolutely terrifying. And what kind of terrifying existence is that towering figure who steps on the sea? Wudong Song Qingshu. Can there really be such a terrifying existence in this world? With a body shape comparable to the sun and moon, and feet on countless great worlds. Even the immortals in mythology do not have such terror, do they? Xiong Ba. Cough, my words just now were just a momentary impulse. Please don't take it amiss, the immortal emperor who just joined the chat group. Witnessing the countless scenes of the shattered world and the majestic figure stepping on the world sea with one's own eyes, it is inevitable to cause a sense of shock in the hearts of all members of the chat group. I can only say, the current scene has completely exceeded their cognitive scope. Mao Shan Lin Jiu. In this vast ocean, every wave is enough to destroy countless great worlds. However, it is always difficult to shake that majestic figure. If there really exists a fairy in this world, I feel that the one in front of me is undoubtedly a fairy. Zhao Proton Zheng. What I saw today has opened my eyes. It turns out that there are indeed immortals in this world. Yi Han, who was on a blue star, felt a tingling sensation on his scalp. This is by no means an urban version of the quasi-immortal emperor. Those immortal emperors who walk 10 meters in one step cannot be compared to this unnamed quasi-immortal emperor in the chat group. If I guess correctly, this unnamed quasi-immortal emperor should be the supreme existence of all heavens and all realms. Placed within the heavens and realms, one can rank among the top 18 stars' supreme strength. Between every move and gesture, the universe was shattered along with it. Such a great power is too terrifying. Yi Han's heart trembled with fear. He suddenly realized, even as the leader of a chat group, he may not be able to gain any benefits in the chat group. Who ever thought? Originally, it was a group of low martial arts practitioners chatting and farting. Suddenly, a supreme existence emerged from all heavens and all realms. Who can withstand this? The great Qin world. Zheng was in a luxurious carriage. At this moment, he was looking at the scene in the chat group with a shocked expression on his face. What a powerful existence. In just one breath, it is enough to cause the exhaustion of life in each big world. Let each world become a decaying wasteland. Is this a fairy? No. In my memory, the immortal can only live forever at most. However, compared to the unnamed quasi-immortal emperor in the chat group, the difference is really too big. And there is that vast and endless sea, which supports countless great worlds. Countless creatures need this vast sea to survive. What is this place on earth? What we see today undoubtedly subverts Zheng's worldview. Did the young master have a nightmare? The driver of the carriage was a young man, carrying a famous sword around his waist. His sharp eyes and sword energy wrapped around his body, making him a top-notch swordsman with outstanding swordsmanship skills. Its name is Gainye. Born in the Ghost Valley lineage. Now, Gainye was the personal guard who assisted Zheng and gained the deepest trust of Zheng. No, nothing. I just saw some amazing visuals. Zheng shook his head at Gaine's question. He certainly won't reveal anything about the chat group. This kind of shocking thing, even if spoken out, probably not many people can believe it. One Piece World. Advancing the city, 6th level infinite hell. In prison. Ace's face, covered in code, now showed an extremely terrifying expression. How could it be? How could there be such a powerful existence in this world? Even the strongest man in Ace's impression, with a white beard and the ability to shake fruits, possesses the power to destroy heaven and earth. However, compared to the terrifying figure seen in the chat group, who steps on the sea of the world and is not affected by time. Both, in the end, are still much inferior. Or in other words, the two are not at all a level of comparison. Dad has a strong white beard. But it is also far from achievable. The sun and moon are shattered yet still immortal. Zhutian chat group. What exactly is this? And who exactly is that unnamed quasi-immortal emperor? How could he be so terrifying? Originally imprisoned in the underwater prison of Advancing City, Ace was burned with all his thoughts and no longer held any hope of survival. Until just now, when he saw the stunning scene that could shake him for a lifetime, Ace's calm heart experienced a violent beat that had not been seen for a long time. If I could get help from that person in the chat group. Don't mention escaping from the Advancing City. Even if it's destroying the entire Advancing City, or even the entire Marinfando, or the entire Red Earth continent. In that person's eyes, this may just be a slap in the face. Ace swallowed his saliva and his heart trembled. Chapter 6. Big Boss Seeks Cover. Mengxin hugged her thighs tightly. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Jiehai. A smile curved around Su Yan's mouth as he watched the information rolling through the chat group with great interest. For him, who has been asleep for thousands of years. Suddenly seeing such a novel thing as a chat group, it is inevitable that one will be enthusiastic. Remember the previous life, he has also fantasized about it. As the leader of the chat group, relying on spoilers to deceive. Unfortunately, a sudden journey brought him to this crisis-ridden fantasy world. Relying on rare talents from thousands of eras, achieving the quasi-immortal emperor in just 10,000 years. Becoming the first emperor of all heavens and all realms. Shocking the past and shining the present. I never thought about it. After failing to strike the 4 dark immortal emperors horizontally, they will come back to a chat group. If Su Yan hadn't risen before, he may feel extremely attached to chat groups. Who hasn't read the novel? After obtaining the chat group, it instantly rose to power. Just for Su Yan now. This so-called chat group can only be used to pass the time at most. He basically guessed the identity of the group members in the group. The strongest is nothing but the current first class in the world of low martial arts. That's all. Even though there is only a trace of soul power left, the power of Su Yan's quasi-immortal emperor is still extremely terrifying. For these group members, Su Yan is still an unattainable taboo in the heavens and all realms. So, Su Yan had no idea. What can this chat group help you? Can you help yourself recover from the injury? Or make oneself stronger? After thinking about it, he couldn't help but shake his head. This is not very realistic. At the level of the quasi-immortal emperor, there are very few things that can help him recover from injuries or improve his cultivation. When you have nothing to do, you can pass the time. With such thoughts in mind, Su Yan spoke for the first time in a chat group. Unknown quasi-immortal emperor. Hello everyone. If I guess correctly, the group leader named Jihan should be from Earth. When I think of Earth, Su Yan couldn't help but feel a little curious. It has been at least 10,000 years since I traveled to this world, and I don't know how much change the Earth has undergone. This group leader named Jihan is mostly from Earth, but is it specifically the Earth from Su Yan's previous life? This is a huge unknown. Su Yan thinks. Most likely it is the Earth of another parallel world. Except for Yi Han, there are currently 5 members in the chat group. They are Zhao Proton Mengxin, Mao Shan Lin Jiu, Prisoner AIC, Xiong Ba, and Wudong Song Qingshu. Su Yan has some understanding of these 5 people. In the previous life, as an Earthling, he certainly cannot be unaware of these familiar characters in the chat group at this moment. The Proton of Zhao, Zheng, is mostly the first emperor. However, at this stage, the other party should still be in the protonic stage of Zhao's state and have not unified the world. This is easy to guess. Mao Shan Lin Jiu, let alone introduce it. Yi Mei Dao Chang, Jiu Shu, Lin Fengjiao, and so on are all identities of Mao Shan Lin Jiu. Prisoner Ace, better guess. The Fire Fist Ace in One Piece King. Now that the other party is a prisoner, it seems that they have been defeated by Blackbeard and sent to the underwater prison to advance to the 6th floor of the infinite hell for detention. Xiong Ba, the world within the wind and clouds will help. Wudong Song Qingshu is a character from the Heaven Sword Dragon Saber. After sorting out the identities of these group members, Su Yan saw that the entire chat group had regained its initial liveliness after the previous silence. This time, almost all group members are discussing around Su Yan. Xiong Ba. Previously speaking rudely, please don't take it for granted. If there is any offense, I am willing to pay all the costs and apologize. Since seeing Su Yan's figure, the powerful ruler of the city immediately realized it. What a terrifying presence is this person who just joined the chat group. Therefore, Xiong Ba immediately came to the group to apologize. After all, this is a ruthless person who, in order to become stronger, even his family members can personally wield their weapons. For a tyrant, there is nothing that cannot be lowered. He is a principled hero. For things like steering according to the wind, it is natural to be familiar with it. Su Yan is too powerful. Powerful enough to make the tyrant feel fearful and fearful. Therefore, Xiong Ba immediately came to apologize. Afraid of being resented by Su Yan. Mao Shan Lin Jiu. The power of the Immortal Emperor is truly admirable. Seeing the power of the Immortal Emperor today, I can be considered to have lived in vain. As the saying goes, hearing the Tao in the morning can lead to death in the evening. Lin Jiu felt admiration from the bottom of his heart. At this moment, he, who was in the Yizhuang, still couldn't forget it in his mind. Just now, Su Yan stepped on the world sea, stepping on the scene of countless waves representing the infinite world. Like the sun and moon, time does not add to it. Such a terrifying existence, even if it is a legendary immortal, in Lin Jiu's view, is far inferior. Even the founder of the Maoshan sect, compared to the unnamed Quasi Immortal Emperor in the chat group, he doesn't even have the qualification to lift shoes. The difference is too big. Wudong Song Qingshu. Immortal Emperor is unparalleled in the world. Just now, Song Qingshu, who was still praising the powerful, immediately turned around and hugged Su Yan's thigh. Who is thicker in the thighs of Xiong Ba and Su Yan? As long as you are not blind, you can see. A tyrant. What nonsense thing. Does he also deserve me to praise Song Qingshu? Jokes. What can Song Qingshu praise me for? Only the nameless quasi-immortal emperor, this kind of supreme existence, exists. As soon as Song Qingshu thought of the scene where Su Yan had just appeared, he felt a deep sense of shock and fear in his heart. He can be certain. Even the founder of Wudong sect, Zhang Sanfeng, is by no means a match for that immortal emperor. Prisoner Ace. Can the immortal emperor help me out of trouble? I can pay any price. Zhao Guo Proton Zheng. Immortal. Please help me unify the world. I am willing to crown Immortal as the great Qin Immortal Master, erect a statue, and let the people of the world worship him. In a moment. The entire chat group is praising Su Yan. After witnessing the terror of Su Yan, all the group members dared not speak ill of him in front of him. Even the group leader Yi Han, who wanted to pretend to be a great immortal, kept praising Su Yan in the group. Office worker Yi Han. How can you understand the power of the quasi-immortal emperor? That is the supreme taboo existence that can easily break through the heavens and all worlds with open eyes. How dare you let this existence help you deal with some ants? It's like using a cannon to shoot mosquitoes. The immortal emperor seeks protection. Little Mengxin kneels down and asks to hug her thighs. Pretending to be a great immortal. Spoiler. At this moment, Yi Han completely threw away these thoughts in his mind. Dare to pretend in front of the supreme taboo existence of the quasi-immortal emperor. Yi Han doesn't have the courage yet. A terrifying existence like the quasi-immortal emperor is already a realm where one mind knows everything. Yi Han did not feel that with his life experience of over 20 years, he could pretend to be a great immortal in front of a quasi-immortal emperor. So, Yi Han is very intelligent. Just hold Su Yan's thigh tightly. As for spoilers, this business naturally cannot be lost. Pretending to be a great immortal in front of people like Mao Shan Lin Jiu, Song Qing Shu, and Xiongba, to give these people a bit of spoilage, isn't it easy? Can you come up with it effortlessly? Why bother asking for trouble, pretend to be in front of a quasi-immortal emperor-level supreme being? Don't those anime characters in the group smell good? Why provoke the quasi-immortal emperor? This is not lighting up in the bathroom. Looking for shit. It can be seen from this. Yi Han, the group leader, still has a strong sense of pressure in his heart. Chapter 7. Chat Group Function. Enter the world of Daqin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. This translator is experiencing an error, please try another translator. Chapter 8. Proton of Zhao. Zheng, Gainye. Coming. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Wudong Song Qingshu. Sai. Immortal Emperor wants to cross the plane world. Mao Shan Lin Jiu. I also want to give it a try. What kind of experience is crossing planes? Prisoner Ace. I wonder when the Immortal Emperor will come to my world. I will do my best as a landlord and treat the Immortal Emperor well. Wudong Song Qingshu. You can pull yourself down. You're already in dire straits and still want to entertain the Immortal Emperor. As a prisoner, let's first consider how to survive this matter. Immortal Emperor, if you have time, you can come to Wudong Mountain to sit down. At this moment, only the hero silently dives and dares not speak in the chat group. He, who has always been cautious and suspicious by nature, naturally dares not invite terrifying beings like Su Yan to come to his world without authorization. How terrifying is Su Yan? Through the background live broadcast of the previous group members, Xiongba has already gained a clear understanding of this. That is the supreme taboo existence that can lead to the exhaustion of countless lives in the vast sea, with a body shape comparable to the sun and moon, and a breath that can cause the exhaustion of life in countless worlds. Let this existence descend into his world. What if such a big shot has ulterior motives? What if such a big shot can't stand his domineering way of dealing with people? Isn't he being slaughtered by others? After much contemplation, even the tyrants dared not invite Su Yan to his world. The Great Qin World. Upon seeing Su Yan's speech, Zheng, who was riding in a luxurious carriage, was overjoyed. He clenched his hands in excitement and his eyes flickered with uncontrollable ecstasy. Unexpectedly, the immortal agreed to descend into my world. Zheng devoted all his consciousness to the chat group. Soon, a request popped up from the chat group. Group member unknown quasi-immortal emperor applies to travel through the world you belong to. Is it allowed? Upon seeing the pop-up application, Zheng pondered for a moment and made up his mind without any hesitation. Allow. Youth Zheng is ambitious. He has the determination and confidence to unify the world. However, he is still the Proton of Zhao state and has not yet become the king of Qin state. Want to unify the world? It's not easy to talk about. In the past, Zheng would not have shown his ambition to unify the world so quickly. He would slowly hibernate, accumulate troops, and wait for the best opportunity to arrive. But now, everything is different. The Zhutian chat group gave Zheng full confidence and confidence. Especially that group member, the unnamed Quasi Immortal Emperor. When witnessing the terror of the other party, it made Zheng deeply aware. If he could invite the other party to come to this world, he would surely be able to easily unify the world. Compared to that person's terror, not to mention a million-strong army, even a million-strong army is like an ant in front of that person. With the help of that immortal, unifying the world is just around the corner. Zheng was extremely excited. With Zheng allowing travel applications. On the other hand, Su Yan, located in the most terrifying place of the all heavens and all realms. Jihai also heard the voices coming from the chat group for the first time. Group member Zhao Proton Zheng has agreed to the travel application. Do you want to travel to the Great Qin world now? Time travel. Su Yan stepped on the world sea, his eyes flickering with countless stars flowing around, and his body faintly emitted a faint glow. A wisp of qi was enough to collapse the universe galaxy. With a thought, a strange force that appeared in the dark instantly enveloped Su Yan's body. There is no sign of it appearing. It is impossible to explore its source. You should know. Even if there is only a trace of soul power left, Su Yan is still the quasi-immortal emperor capable of overwhelming countless immortal kings and powerful beings. How strong is the quasi-immortal emperor? Pin finger collapses countless universes. Open your eyes and silence the little world. With just one breath, it can lead to the depletion of life in a vast world that nurtures billions of creatures. But even though Su Yan was so powerful, when his body was shrouded in that eerie force, he still struggled to discern where this force came from. Yes. Even he couldn't perceive the source of this power. Of course. Although this force appears very eerie, if Su Yan is a little serious and shows his strength, he can forcibly refuse to let this force lead him to shuttle to another space and time. With Su Yan's strength, he has the capital to resist the application for chat group travel. But of course, this is not his intention. With the intention of going to other worlds to heal his wounds, Su Yan took the initiative to apply to go to the Great Qin world. Naturally, he would not refuse the crossing power bestowed upon his body by the chat group. Where does this power come from? Surprisingly, even I find it hard to notice. These chat groups from all over the world seem quite mysterious. Su Yan thought to himself. Next, with the increasing amount of crossing power bestowed upon him, Su Yan's figure gradually retreated into the realm sea, crossing the endless plane world and accurately finding the coordinates of the impending plane world. In an instant, Su Yan disappeared. Disappearance out of thin air, leave no trace. But Jihai is still the same as before. Waves float on the sea surface one after another, a vast world that nurtures billions of creatures, relying on the endless boundary of the vast ocean to inhabit and survive. The disappearance of Su Yan did not cause any sentient beings to notice. Even the 4 dark quasi-immortal emperors who were sleeping at the end of the realm sea did not notice Su Yan's recovery, let alone his departure through time. Gradually, Jihai has once again regained its former tranquility. Hurry up. Follow me to welcome the arrival of the immortal. Zheng hastily jumped off the carriage. Afterwards, he pulled Gain, who was responsible for driving the carriage, with a look full of longing and anticipation. Young master, are you here? Gain was covered in mist and looked bewildered. Since graduating from Gigu, Gain has become the personal guard of Zheng, protecting him for many years. He is the trusted confidant of Zheng and has helped him resolve fatal crises multiple times. At this time, Gain had not yet grown into the world's top swordsman. Although he had graduated from Ghost Valley, his strength was not invincible in the martial arts world, and he could only be said to be a top-notch swordsman in the world. There are still many experts in the martial arts world who possess the strength to defeat Gainye. However, with Gainye's extraordinary talent and aptitude, if nothing unexpected happens, in a few years, he will surely be able to use his sword to step on all swordsmen in the world and achieve the position of Sword Saint. Here we go. Faced with Gainye's questions, Zheng did not respond too much. His eyes were fixed on all directions. Seeing the situation, Gainye no longer spoke too much, his personality was already reserved and not good at words. However, what happens next? But it caused a strong sense of shock in Gain's heart. I see, in front of Zheng and Gainye, they saw the previously empty space ahead and suddenly saw an incredibly brilliant glow. The colorful glow rose into the sky. The vast expanse of rosy light rushes straight into the clouds, illuminating the vast territory of thousands of miles. Extremely brilliant, dazzling, it made it difficult for Zheng and Gainye to open their eyes. For thousands of miles, countless birds and beasts knelt down in fear, trembling and trembling. A pressure originating from the soul let all living beings in the distance be paralyzed to the ground. This is the pressure brought about by completely different levels of life. Like ants facing a divine dragon. Next second, buzz. Buzz. The space produced violent shaking marks. Space distortion. Click, the void collapses, this space and time are influenced by an unparalleled force, causing them to shatter and break apart. Shangxian. This scene not only surprised Zheng, but also generated a strong sense of awe in his heart. This is Gainye, who followed Zheng throughout the entire journey and witnessed such a spectacular scene, became particularly stiff and unable to move in place. As a swordsman, he forgot to grip the sword in his hand for a moment, leaving his mind blank. Under the gaze of Zheng and Gainye, I vaguely caught a majestic figure dressed in white, stepping on the void, slowly emerged step by step from the dazzling and splendid glow. Chapter 9. Zheng. Congratulations to the immortal. Unmatched Immortals. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. The light is too dazzling. Like the summer sun crashing down. The rosy glow rises from afar, colorful halos render the entire sky. The dazzling light made Zheng and Gainye instinctively raise their hands, blocking their eyes. The remaining light looked through the gaps of their fingers at the white-clothed man walking out of the 10,000 zhang glow ahead. Against the backdrop of colorful halos, the young man dressed in white has a magnificent appearance, with sharp and angular features that seem different from those found in the human world. His appearance is perfect and flawless. Fairy light curls up, a fairy-like aura that transcends the mundane world envelopes the man in white. He is too extraordinary. Completely unlike someone who is in this world. As the man in white descended, a wisp of chi emanated from his body. Vaguely, the entire space of heaven and earth is violently shaking and trembling. This world seems to be heading towards the end. It's like the end of the world is coming. Even a tiny wisp of energy almost caused the world to shatter and collapse. In the blink of an eye, the breath of exhalation caused the withering and rebirth of flowers, plants, and trees for hundreds of miles. In this extremely short period of time, this space seems to have ushered in a transition of 4 seasons, with spring, summer, autumn, and winter all compressed in this moment. Flowers, plants, and trees wither, welcoming new life once again, and the fragrance of blooming flowers wafts for hundreds of kilometers. It's like bathing in spring breeze. It's like being in a paradise. Let your mind and body be empty, linger and forget to return. Even some flowers, plants, and trees blooming in different seasons accompanied the arrival of this man in white, each displaying a graceful appearance and swaying his slender waist. 100 flowers are blooming and colorful. Such a scene letting Zheng's mind flash with a flash of inspiration, and subconsciously murmur in a daze. If I were the Qing emperor in another year. Newspapers and peach blossoms bloom together. This man in white is the king of flowers from the peach garden. In a moment of thought 100 flowers are blooming. May I ask, what a terrifying power is this? Gradually, the 10,000 Zhang glow soaring into the clouds gradually dissipated, the distorted time and space also began to slowly recover. The light is restrained and fades away. Everything returned to its original state. Only a figure in white appeared out of thin air, revealing that everything just now was not an illusion. A gentle breeze blew by, blowing the blooming flowers swaying gracefully. At this moment, following Ying Zheng's side, Guy Nie's eyes were filled with horror, staring blankly ahead at the terrifying figure amidst the dazzling array of flowers. Gulu he couldn't help but swallow his saliva, with a look of horror on his face, and his trembling mood could not be calmed for a long time. The scene witnessed with my own eyes today is enough to make Guy Nie unforgettable in this lifetime. Even back then, he had witnessed with his own eyes the scene of his master Geguzi's full force attack, which was far from the terrifying scene he saw at this moment. Geguzi, who is making every effort to take action, it still falls within the scope of human resources. However, the scene I saw before me was clearly completely detached from the world. Extraordinary to the holy, it is not possessed by humans. It's not an exaggeration to call it immortal magic. With a single thought, a vast expanse of rosy light rose from the flat ground. With a single thought, 100 flowers compete and bloom. On another thought, birds and animals from thousands of miles knelt on the ground membrane to worship. If it weren't for the immortal method, what kind of magic can be achieved, such a terrifying and shocking act? Even in ancient myths and legends, those immortals who can move mountains and fill the sea. I'm afraid it's just that, isn't it? Guy Nie's throat is dry and astringent. Another gentle breeze blew lightly, flowers are fluttering and dancing in the air. Petals fell on Ying Zheng's shoulder, and he woke up with a start. Not to mention Qin Shi Huang, who had not yet grown into the ruler of the world. Even the future ruler of a country and the ruler of the great Qin Empire, who would dominate the world, would find it difficult to maintain a calm attitude in the face of such terrifying scenes. I, Ying Zheng, welcome the Immortal. Congratulations on the arrival of the Immortal in this world. The Immortal's unparalleled charm is unparalleled in the world. After realizing this, Ying Zheng quickly took steps forward, respectfully clasped his fists and arched his hands, lowered his head, and took the initiative to salute the man in white ahead. Young Master. Seeing Ying Zheng strode forward, Guy Nie, who was a close guard, was greatly surprised. He suddenly realized it with a second thought. As a guard, I am truly incompetent. At such a dangerous moment just now I forgot to hold my sword to defend myself. If the enemy is on the opposite side and wants to harm young Master Ying Zheng, wouldn't he have had difficulty resolving the crisis just now? But, on second thought, Guy Nie's thinking stagnated. You know, the figure in white clothes that appeared out of thin air in front of me was the supreme existence that caused 100 flowers to bloom in a single thought. If Gain is not mistaken, many of the blooming flowers require August to bloom. However, on the occasion of March now these flowers have all bloomed. What does this mean? If this person harbors hostility towards us, can I really protect the safety of the young master? This question came to Gain's mind. Soon, he came to a conclusion in his mind. This person is unparalleled in the world. Even if Master Geguzi personally visits. Faced with such a fleeting thought, the supreme existence that can force 100 flowers to bloom will also appear particularly fragile, insignificant. Guy Nie's face was full of bitterness. In his mind, Master Geguzi is the most powerful existence in the world. Until today, he encountered the terrifying figure in front of him, which seemed to be like a fairy. A timeless figure who makes Gain feel fear from the bottom of his heart and soul, and gives him the idea of being invincible. Ying Zheng. The man in white slowly lifted his head, his eyes containing countless stars flowing around, and the infinite power that could shatter the universe was hidden within them, firmly restrained in his body. He looked at the young man in front of him who was clasping his fists and bowing. Not bad at this moment. Su Yan, who was brought across by chat groups, naturally arrived in the world of Daqin. Chapter 10. The Power of the World's Origin. Number 1. Little Brother Ying. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. If it weren't for before coming to this world, Su Yan would have tried his best to control the infinite power hidden in his body and avoid emitting excess qi. I'm afraid, this world will face fragmentation, collapse because of his arrival. For Su Yan, even a wisp of energy emanating from him, even a tiny wisp of energy, is enough to easily collapse the entire world, causing this side to lose control and turn into a bubble, vanishing into a speck of dust in the boundless universe. Don't doubt the power of the Quasi Immortal Emperor. For this low martial world, not to mention the billions of living beings living in this world, even the entire world is as insignificant as a speck of dust in Su Yan's eyes. Even the true immortal level powerhouses under the Immortal King. The battles between immortals are all about shattering the sun, moon, and stars as soon as they move, and the aftershocks easily sink countless worlds. Not to mention Su Yan, as a quasi-immortal emperor far superior to the Immortal King. The Battle of Jihai, 1 enemy against 4, might defeat 4 dark quasi-immortal emperors. Su Yan can no longer remember how many great worlds that relied on the boundary sea were destroyed in that battle. You should know. The level of the world represented by each wave in the boundary sea far exceeds that of the present Daqin world. Even though Su Yan had already controlled and restrained all of his qi, he still almost led the world towards a fate of exhaustion, extinction, and fragmentation. This world. It seems that there is no heavenly way. Looking up, Su Yan looked towards the sky. Like the eyes of 2 rounds of scorching sun, piercing through the boundless starry sky. At a glance, it crosses endless space, triggers the collapse of the void, and instantly penetrates the essence of the entire world, revealing the core essence of this world. This is the origin of the world. Su Yan was somewhat surprised. The vast world represented by each wave on the other side of the boundary sea, after countless years of reproduction and growth, may not be able to give birth to the power of the world's origin. However, this low martial world has produced the origin of the world. This surprised Su Yan a bit. He originally thought that, this trip is mostly for tourism, taking care of your injuries and passing the time. I never thought about it. You can encounter the power of the world's origin here. Now, Su Yan's trip may not necessarily come empty-handed. The power of the world's origin, even for a quasi-immortal emperor like me, has significant assistance. If I could forcibly extract half of the true power of this world, I believe it would likely bring some degree of treatment to my injury. Although I don't expect to recover to the peak at once, based on the concentration of the world's original power, I can make a preliminary judgment. If I extract half of the world's original power, my injury may recover by at least 1/10. In this way, an injury that takes tens of thousands of years to recover will also shrink for thousands of years. Su Yan seemed lost in thought. He is feeling a bit cheerful. He didn't want to waste tens of thousands of years on healing, but now he saw another method of healing, and he was naturally very satisfied. As for why are you preparing to extract half of the world's origin, instead of extracting all the origins of the world? That naturally has his reasons. If we really extract all the origins of the world, then this world will be considered completely scrapped. At that time the creatures born in this world will become weaker and weaker. Until, the entire world is depleted of life, the planet has become a wasteland. Dead and lifeless, become a dead planet. Although this world has little to do with Su Yan, he is not willing to completely destroy it just to recover from his injuries. If Su Yan were to be so selfish in front of himself back then, he will not, even though he knows he will lose, step alone into the sea of the world for the sake of the billions of creatures in the heavens and realms, leaving a faint footprint and fighting against the 4 dark quasi-immortal emperors alone. Shangxian, please enter the carriage for a chat. At this moment, Zheng braved his scalp and interrupted Su Yan's thoughts. Upon learning that this world possesses the power of its origin, Su Yan felt very relaxed and happy at the moment, and did not care about Zheng's sudden thoughts. Looking at the reserved Zheng, Su Yan began to ponder in his heart. Since it was Zheng who agreed to travel to this world, besides extracting half of the world's original power, he could also help the other party fulfill their wishes. After all, ultimately, if it weren't for the coordinates provided by Zheng, Su Yan would not have been able to be accurately brought to this world by the chat group. So, that's why. In terms of emotion and reason, Su Yan has to repay Zheng's share of kindness. If it weren't for Zheng, Su Yan is also unable to reduce thousands of years of healing time. This kind of low martial world should not have the origin of the world. So, is it just this world that is different? Or is it that in a chat group, all members belong to different worlds? If it's the latter, then maybe I don't need to spend tens of thousands of years healing. I can completely travel through different worlds and extract half of the original power of these worlds for healing. In this way, in no more than a year, I can use the power of the world's origin to recover to the peak of the quasi-immortal emperor. Su Yan pondered. Thinking of this, his mood became much more relaxed. Next, upon being invited by Zheng and stepping into the carriage, one could feel that Zheng had become increasingly restrained. As a coachman and guard, Daqin, with a heart full of shock, fear, and unease, carefully drove the carriage forward step by step. On this trip, I am preparing to return to the capital city of Zhao. At the same time, the chat group of Zhutian has exploded. Group messages are rolling wildly. Wudong Song Qingshu. Has the immortal emperor gone to the world of Zheng? Xiong Ba. Zheng, come out and say, have you seen the respect of the immortal emperor? Office worker Yihan. Wait. Mao Shan Lin Jiu. I don't know what year and month I will be able to witness the dignity of the immortal emperor with my own eyes. I am really looking forward to it. After casually browsing through these group messages, Zheng, who was riding in the carriage, felt extremely excited. Of course, he didn't mind expressing his inner joy to the group members. Zhao's Proton Zheng. I have seen the immortal emperor himself. When the immortal emperor arrives, the glow rises like thunder on the flat ground, and birds and animals from thousands of miles kneel on the earth's membrane to worship, looking like gods. Even the flowers that bloom in September, due to the arrival of the immortal emperor, bloom in a graceful posture in the 3rd lunar month. The posture of the immortal emperor is unparalleled in the world. At this moment, where does Zheng still have the image of the eternal emperor Qin Shi Huang? On the spot, he directly transformed into Su Yan's #1 younger brother and crazily praised him in chat groups. I wish I could only praise Su Yan for being in the sky. Accompanied by Zheng's speech, it was like a stone stirring up 1,000 waves, instantly causing the entire chat group to become more and more violently shaken and discussed. Wudong Song Qingshu. Sigh. I seem to have already imagined the incredibly spectacular scene of the arrival of the immortal emperor. Mao Shan Lin Jiu. The immortal emperor is truly unparalleled in the world. In a moment of thought, he made the flowers of September bloom in March, and even made the living beings from thousands of miles kneel and worship. These methods are truly shocking. Prisoner Ace. Envy. Real name Envy. I don't know when the immortal emperor will come to my world. My world has the best wine, and I will definitely be loved by the immortal emperor. Office worker Yihan. The power of the immortal emperor is so terrifying.